Welcome, everyone, to another exciting edition of 55 and 5, the only show on YouTube that talks at all about any Parkhurst cards from 1954, 55, you name it. It's fun, though. It's a history lesson. It's a 5-minute history lesson on this set, one card at a time. And on this journey, it's Cary Silkin, Ian Riccaboni, our producer AJ from Bisson Creative. And Cary, we had a tough one yesterday, Big Lou.
He had some good credentials, though.
He sure did. That's not a career to be ashamed of. Wrestling at Madison Square Garden, Maple Leaf Gardens, and appearing on some fun stuff.
Yeah, 25-year career in cinema and TV.
Yeah, regular work, acting alongside the great Cher in Moonstruck. But this person, unfortunately, passed away before Moonstruck came out. But with all due respect to Mr. Big Lou Pasosha, he had quite the career and quite the legacy. I think we're going to need all 5 minutes today to talk about this man. It's one of the cooler cards in the set. We have Captain Lou. We have Uncle Gunny. They are our spiritual advisors on this quest to get through all 121. I show the card to the camera. Cary, I don't even think you need to look at the name on this card. I think you know who it is right away, if I had to guess.
Yeah, look how nice he looks.
Yeah.
Well, the great Dory Funk.
Dory Funk Sr., absolutely.
Where do we start?
Right? Yeah, we're going to need all 5 minutes.
Well, it's interesting, first of all, since this is 1955, I think the Funks I know the Funks were not originally from Amarillo.
Correct. That's a big part of his story.
I don't know. I don't think they were Canadian either.
No.
But they were somewhere in the northern Midwest.
Hammond, Indiana.
There you go.
And he was a state wrestling champion, amateur, for the state of Indiana. He went on to win an AAU championship while at Indiana State, which is where Larry Bird went.
And Dory Funk somehow migrated to Texas. Mm-hmm. I mean, he had a career. I'm sure he wrestled in many other places, but migrated to Texas. Mm-hmm. I don't know if he bought into the office or started the office, but he had the Amarillo territory. He was a major player in NWA and became the NWA World's Champion.
He was the junior champion. Which, as we know, it was held in just as high regard.
That's right.
A big drawing
Dory
card.
Jr. and Terry.
Yeah. Yeah. So his legacy goes well beyond even what he did in the ring.
But yeah, Dory Funk, I mean, was such a big player. You know, he and Eddie Graham were instrumental and, worked with each other. He's trained 1 million guys. Oh,
and I have the list. It's impressive.
And his two sons, of course, Terry and Dory Jr., and then he died early.
He did. 1973. He was, let me make sure my math, 54?
Did he? Was it like a heart attack after a match or something?
No, he was doing a segment at his home with a news reporter. And they were doing the standard, wrestler goofs around with the reporter. Looks like he's going to rough him up a little. He had a heart attack. So unfortunately, he left very soon. Thankfully, he did get to see his son, Dory Jr., win the title in 1969. And his legacy would go on. And he began his career in 1940. He kind of abruptly left to serve in the Navy for World War II. So he's got results in 40. The results stop until 48. What he does is he goes to Texas and he helps build that territory. Wins the NWA junior title from Angelo Savaldi. Kind of loses it right back, but that title, like we talked about with Baron Leone, I mean, Baron Leone, one of the biggest draws in the world, had that title. Lou Thez, Danny Hodge, Leroy McGurk. So he won that in 57. He helps popularize the Texas Death Match.
Interesting.
Right. And he had those, this is including but not limited to Whipper Billy Watson, Killer Carl Cox, Dick Steinborn, Sputnik Monroe, Harley Race, Bull Ramos, Jack Briscoe, and Cyclone Negro. So he's having these Texas death matches all against the top talent that he's bringing in.
Now, I don't know if it was Amarillo, but when I was a kid and looking in the wrestling magazines, it was always that the Texas wrestling was very, very physical and bloody. And these, the Texas death match, of course, but that it was just this hard-hitting action. And I think Danny McShane, do you know that name?
I do.
Came out of this era, which had a lot to do with blood being part of an important part of wrestling, as far as in a theatrical way, but to make matches better.
Yeah. And if you take a look at some of the Texas Deathmatch photos that are around, there's not much video. I looked, but some of the photos in those magazines are wild, especially for the time. The crimson mask on the face, not something you expect to see in the early 60s, but it was there. And it was helped popularized by Dory Funk of all folks. And that became more of a staple later in his career toward the mid 60s. But by that time, he was already helping create some new talent and develop new talent. Here's who he gets credit for. Now, this isn't necessarily trained straight up. This isn't, he didn't take these folks from the ground up necessarily, but he has a hand in training or trained Dory Funk Jr., Terry Funk, Stan Hansen, Harley Race, Gene Kiniski, Tully Blanchard, Ted DiBiase, Bruiser Brody, Jumbo Saruta, and Genichiro Tenryu.
It's quite a list.
Right? Some of those folks I wasn't even aware were around at the time. But
so he must have went to Japan, or he had relationships with the Japanese companies for them to send someone like Jumbo Saruta to work with him.
Yeah. Extensive ties in Japan, and a competitor over there, as his sons would be also. His sons would become beloved in Japan as well.
So once again, I'm sorry, what year did he start his career?
1940.
So if this picture was actually from that time,
right,
he was in great shape. And talk about a legend.
Interesting that, we talk about some late bloomers. He, in a sense, is a late bloomer. It was 17 years before he won the NWA junior title.
I think it had to do with them moving to, Texas, and things just took off from there. Yeah,
talk about a territory that would go on to really influence wrestling over the years. I don't think there's an ECW if there's not Texas, and every link in between, whether that's Memphis or whatnot. I think the Texas style seemed to influence a lot of territories.
Well, we tip our hat to Dory Funk, no doubt about it.
We do. We honor you, Dory. And I told you that was going to be a layup today. I told you I'd give you a nice, easy one.
Well, I hope tomorrow's the same thing.
Well, tomorrow, Cary, maybe he wrestled in Madison Square Garden, the New York one, and he wrestled in Capitol. We'll see.
Okay.
Tomorrow's a coin flip. It might be a name you recognize from the magazines.
All right.
So there you go. That's your hint for tomorrow.
Well, it was a lot of fun. Thank you.
Yeah. Dory Funk Sr. here tonight. One of my favorite cards in the set. Looking to upgrade it if anybody has a higher than a PSA 3. Beautiful picture, beautiful card, number 37 in the set. And another one of the Hall of Famers in this 55 set. So tomorrow, we tackle somebody that wrestled a little bit in Capitol, wrestled from 42 to the 60s, and we'll see where that takes us. So
all right.
For AJ, our producer, Cary, I'm Ian Riccaboni. Thanks for watching 55 and 5. We hope you join us 8 p.m. every night until we get through all 121 of these great Parkhurst 1955 cards. Happy wrestling, everybody.